Yeah, welcome to another episode of the Racer X Exhaust podcast brought to you by our friends at Youre. Check them out at yoshimura-rd.com. Yoshimura Research and Development. You know, when I started this show, they said it was 63 years of research and development, but I started back in February, so we are nearing 64 years. I think we put another year of development in the Yoshimura cap. They've got a lot of cool new products. We've been talking about the new exhaust systems for the new KTM 250s, 350s, and 450s for 2019. The rider we're talking about on today's podcast will be riding a 2019 KTM, a 250. It's Shane McElrath. Now, repeat after me. Shane McElrath is a contender. Shane McElrath is a contender. Shane McElrath is a contender. Commit it to memory. Commit to the dream that Shane McElrath legitimately can win a 250 Supercross championship. Who knows? Even a 250 Motocross championship. Shane did not come through the ranks as a highly touted amateur prospect, and I believe that has clouded how good he has actually become as a professional. The last 2 seasons, he has been just about as good as any other rider in Supercross. He's won 5 races. He finished second in 250 West Points in 2017. He finished third in 250 West Points in 2018. And we used to call it the, here it comes, Shit on Shane podcast special edition whenever we would preview Supercross each year. And no one would bring up Shane McElrath as a potential championship contender. But for the last 2 years, he has been exactly that. A couple of breaks one way or another, one bad race or two, who knows? Maybe he would have won one of those titles. But he still doesn't get the hype of other riders in the 250 class. Now, for a while, everyone got to hang on the excuse of, yeah, but he sucks outdoors, dude. And he wasn't as good outdoors as he was in Supercross. But he fixed a lot of that in 2018 when he won his first ever overall and also won his first ever moto. So now he's becoming an all-around threat. That part is legit. My question is, will anyone recognize it? Or if he wins Anaheim 1, which he already did last year, will everyone be like, oh yeah, I forgot, McElrath is good? We shall see. Now, I actually called Shane 2 weeks ago for this. I tried to pile up some podcasts so I wouldn't have to interrupt anyone over the holiday break, which I have learned from most of the riders is not much of a break at all. But anyway, when I called Shane, he was just finished with a marathon 3-day session of testing that 2019 KTM 250. So it'll be interesting. Here you'll learn how he's had to evolve as a rider. From an amateur who just had one bike for practicing and racing and no ability to test because they didn't even have other parts to try, to a rider who has slowly but surely learned to figure the bike out. And he actually says that's one of the main reasons he struggled outdoors for the last few years and then figured things out a bit this year. And he'll also talk about some of the engine testing they did this offseason to get better for the outdoors next year. So Shane McElrath is a legitimate contender. We're going to learn about his rags to riches story here. And here's the most amazing part that you will learn from this show. Zach Osborne's dad, Mark, unquestionably a huge part of Shane's program to get him from privateer, regular old local amateur status to a nationally known and eventually factory-supported amateur. I don't think Mark has ever taken a dime for his services, but he did a lot to help Shane get to where he is. That's just good old Southern hospitality right there. So we're going to dial up Shane McElrath here in just a moment, but first, podcast. 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 Podcast, 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 podcast. Yeah, man, that sounds great. What also sounds good is saving money. There is nothing that sounds better than that. It's the sound of nothing. It's the sound of not spending anything. But if you're going to, you might as well get a nice discount. So go to RacerXbrand.com right now. We've got a whole new line of RacerX clothing, backpacks, hats, all kinds of cool stuff, even jackets, which will get you through the wintertime. And we have a discount code for Cyber Monday. I'm not sure if it still works because it's no longer Monday. I'm recording this on Wednesday. The code is Cyber25, and it will give you 25% off. Don't use it. Instead, type in exhaust in all capital letters and get 20% off. Now, I understand that asking you to get a smaller discount goes against all of my principles, to the point where I have a rewards credit card that gives me 2% cash back on everything that I do, and I use it for all my purchases. Then I pay it off at the end of the month. I pay zero fees, zero interest, and just get 2% of my money back for nothing. I have stolen thousands of dollars through the years from the credit card companies with this scheme. I don't know why they allow this. Anywho, I'll fight for 1%. I'll fight for 2%. But in this case, I want you to fight to only take the 20% off exhaust discount, not the 25% off, because I want the credit. I want the exhaust code to dominate Cyber Monday. And in other Racer X news, we have an all-new issue of Racer X Illustrated, hot off the presses. Right on the cover, it says, "Thanks a million." Eli Tomac won the Monster Energy Cup, but did he get little help from a buddy? Did a teammate perhaps assist him? I wrote a story on Monster Energy Cup that'll be in that issue. It actually talks about Monster Energy Cup, but more importantly, how it was a return to the radar for many of the riders who wanted to participate in Motocross of Nations. It is really a Motocross of Nations themed issue. We talk a lot about riders like Marvin Musquin and Cooper Webb who wanted to be there, Chad Reed who wanted to be there, what they thought when they watched the race, what they thought about maybe trying to race it again in the future. Cooper Webb definitely wants to be back on Team USA at one point. And Eli Tomac, Justin Barcia, they say they want another shot. So really interesting there. And Roger DeCoster, a huge breakdown on what he thinks has gone wrong for American riders and Team USA at Motocross of Nations. That's a story penned by Davey Coombs and Eric Johnson. That issue is out now, and we just wrapped up an issue which has a Supercross preview. So that'll be coming your way shortly. Mailboxes, I don't know, a week or so. And if you subscribe to the digital edition, it's probably on its way right now. We wrapped that up last week. So I penned a Jason Anderson feature in there where I talked to Alden Baker. You heard some of that last week. And also his team owner and manager, Bobby Hewitt, about his prospects for 2019. Huge Supercross preview. A lot of great stuff in there. So that's Racer X Illustrated. Every single thing in the magazine is different from what we have on the website. And if you don't want to carry a magazine around, we have the digital subscription so you can read it on your phone or on your laptop or tablet, whatever. We're anywhere you want with exclusive, different content. Okay? Now, here's Shane McElrath. It actually sounds like it's been a pretty busy week from what I can ascertain from social media. It sounded like the whole crew was down there doing some serious testing.
Yeah, we some of the Austrians from KTM, they have been over here working like with engines and really just trying to make the bike better. And so this has been kind of a time that's been dedicated to them, for them to come down to the Baker's factory and to bring a couple different motor packages and have us try them out and just check out what they've been coming up with. So we don't normally ride 3 days in a row, but today's the first day we've had off this week. And it's been some very long days this week, to say the least.
Yeah, like what are we talking when it's testing? Is it like all the daylight you've got for 3 days? Is something crazy like that?
Getting home at dark. Yes.
Seriously? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's been a long couple days, but like I would come home, eat dinner, take a shower, and just get in bed.
Seriously?
So
are you that tired? Is that part of the reason?
No, just because I wanted to be able to still ride.
Yeah.
So it's I mean, there's obviously a lot of things that I like to do when I come home or just hang out and kind of relax, but
sure.
I knew that I still got either 2 or 1 more day of testing, and I can't not be up to par because these guys have flown across the world to come and spend their time working with us a little bit. So it was a pretty big deal.
I know you haven't been at the Baker's factory deal for a long time, but is this the first time you know that the Austrians came to Florida? I don't know if you know the answer to that, but I haven't heard of this before. It seems like a big deal.
Yeah, I'm not really sure.
Right.
I don't know that we really kind of, I guess, needed them that much because we've always been pretty good. But last year we were a little bit underpowered, and it really showed on outdoors. So they've been working really hard to get something that's better for us, and that was really exciting because, in my opinion, I thought we've got like a really good bike, and then we were just a little bit off. So they've really been working hard, and now when we got to ride some of the motor packages and stuff, it's a pretty big difference, and we're really excited for next year now.
I've always wondered what it's like to learn testing, so to speak. Where are you at as a test rider? I'm sure. Okay, I'll make it easier on you. Think of where you were, say, 5 years ago. Like, did you have any clue how to give feedback or what a motorcycle was even doing compared to where you are now?
I didn't really, and there's a lot of times where I still feel like I don't.
Okay.
And so that's what's really tough. But then we've got like engine testing, and we've got suspension testing, and sometimes chassis, and sometimes subframe, sometimes swing arm, sometimes like front wheel axle, sometimes rear wheel axle. Like it's pretty, I guess, infinite on the things that you can do and try.
Yeah.
But my suspension, I feel like I'm still, I'm actually really learning a lot lately, because I feel like I've not been very good about that. It's just kind of pushing it off. Oh, I don't have to know it. My bike's pretty good, but it's like, okay, well, I need to really give a good effort, and learning what needs to be done to the suspension sometimes, or just to kind of give better feedback. And that's what I've really kind of tried to challenge myself with. But from the motor side of things, I feel like I'm pretty good about the motor side, because I guess really not, but I know I can tell small differences
Right.
in the way the clutch feels, the way the clutch releases, the way the throttle is, like the delivery, and that's something that I kind of enjoy, like that technical side of it. So I'm really kind of into it in a sense. So I feel like I'm a lot better on the motor side of things, but even with suspension testing, like I've been told a few times that I give good feedback, and I do a pretty good job. But from my perspective, I'm like, dude, I don't know what you guys are talking about, and I don't know what to tell you. But this is what I'm struggling with. So, yeah.
Do you ever feel the pressure? And I've heard a lot of riders go through this, either when you're new to the team, which you were at one time, or when you have a big time test with guys from Austria, like where you feel like you have to say something, even if you don't really know what you're supposed to say. But like the one answer no one ever wants to give is, yeah, I don't know. So
Yeah.
is it tough to force yourself sometimes to say, I don't know? If I tell you anything, it'll probably be wrong. I just don't know. Has that happened before?
Yeah, and that's just this week, like with some engine stuff, not like engine specifically, but just like different parts that kind of go along with the engine. It's
Sure.
like, well, here, all right, this feels really good. Okay, well, let's try this. And then it's like, I didn't really feel anything. I don't know. But then it's like then they'll kind of choose something that maybe makes the engine run easier or smoother, or just helps it run a little easier in a sense and still run good. So yeah, and the same with suspension. It's like there's times where it's like, man, that was a really big change, and I either like it or I don't like it. But then there's times where I'm like, I didn't really notice much there.
Yeah.
And it took me a while to, I guess, be comfortable saying that, because I felt like I always needed to have something to say. But I've had those times where I'm sitting there and I'm like trying to think of, oh yeah, well, this is good, this isn't good, but it's like, honestly, I don't really know. Like, I
Yeah.
didn't notice much with it.
Yeah,
So
it's
it's a
not a
little
test
weird.
of you. It's not them testing you to see what you
Yeah.
can tell. But it's
Yeah.
got to be tough to get out of that mindset and be like, oh man, if I don't feel this, are they going to think I'm an idiot because I'm not feeling it? So it's like you'd be tempted to have to give an answer, but they're not testing you and your testing skills. They're testing the bike. So I can imagine people go
Exactly.
in the wrong direction. Like, I better say something, and then whatever they say isn't even true, and
Yeah.
then you're off in the weeds.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, for me, I kind of see it as I wouldn't say like directly a pride thing, but it's like, uh, I mean, we are professional riders,
Mhm.
and it's like we are very in tune with our bikes. But at the same time, like there's some things where maybe we don't know or we don't even pay attention to it. So it's like, oh well, it's just kind of brushing it off the shoulders or whatever.
Yep, yep.
And so then it's like, okay, well, what'd you think about this? And I'm like, um, I don't really know. Like it's hard to kind of make yourself say that,
Hmm.
and especially like I when I was first on the team, it was kind of one, I didn't know what I was doing, and two, it's like, okay, yeah, it's pretty good, works fine for me, but I mean, I'm just the young kid, the uh, guy that's like fourth or fifth in line, and it's like I'm not really that important compared to the other people on the team.
Okay.
So it's more of a, yeah, I'll just run it until maybe somebody points something out, like why do you think you're struggling there or whatever. But now it's re- it's getting to where I know, okay, something's wrong,
Hmm.
and this is the result of it. But it's also really tough to kind of, I guess, not act like you know everything and try and come up with something,
Yeah, yeah,
and just be like, "Dude, I honestly I don't know,"
yeah,
and
yeah.
so that's tough.
um, and I love talking about this stuff, specifically you, because you came from like these humble roots. So do you remind yourself every once in a while, like, here you are, this is a factory KTM deal, and there are dudes coming over from Austria. And by the way, you're at Baker's factory, which has an aura of greatness around it also. Do you ever have to remind yourself, like, wow, I cannot believe that I'm the one testing with KTM guys from Austria, and I'm the one doing it at Alden Baker's? Like, that's pretty crazy, man.
Yeah, all the time.
You do? Okay. Yep.
It's I mean, it's so easy to get caught up in things, and
Hmm.
I mean, just in this sport. I mean, like pride and ego is something that some people solely run on,
Hmm.
and it's I mean, just I guess the way that I've been raised is not better or worse or whatever. It just I mean, I don't know. I just feel like I've had to kind of grow up from an early age, and um, I've had to rely on God and know that, okay, well, I don't know everything sometimes, and that's really helped me out, and especially being around my peers and people that kind of haven't had the same upbringing that I have. Maybe they had a factory ride since they were younger,
Right.
and just sometimes I see their attitude towards a little issue or something, and it's like the world's going to end, and I'm like, I just think to myself, man, they're just not seeing through the the little problem there. That's really nothing at all. But I mean, I have those moments too, and I get caught up in those things as well. But it's times when I really kind of get knocked down where it brings me back, and I'm like, okay, it's this isn't my world here. Like I'm not the center, and I need that a lot because it really puts me in my place.
But on the other hand, okay, so it's great to have that perspective and to have that humble part. But at the same time, look, you're an established race winner now, and I could say we're probably going into maybe the third season in a row where you could win one of these Supercross titles. It wouldn't even be that surprising at this point. But you have to, as I always say, believe that. You have to believe that if you don't win, that's not acceptable. So how hard has it been to get yourself to that mindset of like, wait, I'm on this starting gate and I might be the best guy here? Because it's hard to make that leap from humble roots to I'm going to win today. I'm the best guy. That's tough.
Yeah, and that goes along with like just kind of the mentality of this sport is now being kind of in the industry longer and knowing people and just I guess seeing all the different types of personalities. It's like, man, like, yeah, Supercross is really cool, and but now like somebody like Dungy, who is still fairly young, and now his racing's over, and it's like, okay, well now what? Like, now what does he do? And like, I love racing my motorcycle, and I really I believe that I am very good, but there's times where I don't believe that I'm the best, and it's really tough to battle with that, especially when you're going to line up, because you're like, man, I just want to race hard. I want to go out there. I want to do things the best that I can, and I mean, there's been times where I've been so disappointed in a second place because I was just like, man, if I could have just done this one thing like a little better. And it just like, sometimes a second place would like ruin my week or something. And I'm like, dude, what is wrong with this? And so I'm like, then there's times where I've even won and been disappointed in my riding. And so it's really easy to kind of get caught up in that side of it. And now, like, building relationships within the industry and with other riders, and being there and kind of challenging other riders, whether it's in their faith, whether it's on the track, that's really been something that kind of challenges me in return, because it's like, okay, well, these guys are getting a lot better and I need to get a lot better. And so that's something that really keeps me going, and really helps me grow and pay attention and study what other people do good. Okay, well, can I incorporate that into my riding style or my technique or whatever? And yeah, it's pretty crazy to think like, man, I can win this thing. And it's something that TK's told me since I got on the team that I really struggled with was, you just need to believe in yourself as much as I believe in you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, I feel like I do, but it's just becoming more and more real to me that, like, I've been blessed with talent, and now I know that whose I am, and that's been huge for me. And when I line up on the gate, it's like, all right, I'm here to race hard. I'm here to leave it all out on the track, and I'm going to race these guys really hard, and I'm going to go and shake their hand after, and then go on to the next week. And that's something that I really challenged myself to do, because I don't want to get caught up in the little things, I guess.
Yeah, it's got to be such a balance, because I know it sounds like you're saying these weeks when you got second and you were ruined by it, it doesn't sound like you're saying that as a good thing. But at the same time, there has to be some of that, right?
Yeah. And that's I mean, the big picture, I got second, and I'm healthy, and I get to go race again. It's like, oh, well, I forget about that. It's like, man, so and so beat me, this and that, and it's like, come on, Shane, like, just move on. And so, yeah.
That's funny how that can work. Okay, so give me the true backstory here. I've told this one part over and over, how they somebody at Troy Lee, I don't know if it's TK or somebody, saw you at Loretta's and kind of picked you up, and you flew to California. But okay, I remember this one year at Loretta's in the B class where suddenly you were battling with, would it have been Bishalia and Webb?
Cooper. Yeah, Cooper.
Right.
Yep.
That's kind of when you first got on the radar, but you were riding at Club Amex already at that point, right? So what were you doing leading up to that?
Yeah, Actually, I had been living at club. That was in 2012.
Yeah.
I had been living at club for exactly a year, up until that point. And I grew up racing on the weekends. I went to public school, and that's pretty much it. Like if we didn't race on the weekends, a lot of weekends we would just go riding and just go to local tracks or whatever. And then in 2011, which was like the summer of my going into my senior year of high school, Mark Osborne said, "Hey, well,
this is Zach's dad, right?"
Yeah, this is Zach's dad. He was like, "Hey, you want to go down to club and train for a couple weeks before Loretta's?" And so we were like, "Sure." Well, this was like after the area qualifiers, like earlier in the year.
Okay.
And then Mark wanted to help us out with bikes and stuff, and like build me some bikes for Loretta's that were competitive.
And why was he doing this? He just was being cool.
We had known them for a while, but it was right after area qualifier at Muddy Creek actually. And like I grew up riding that track every weekend that they had a race, so that was probably my best track. And one year we had, I don't remember if it was a regional or an area. I'm pretty sure it was an area, but there was an area qualifier there and some pretty decent names. But like I won the Schoolboy class, and Mark just was like, "Hey, I want to help you guys out," and so he was like, "Hey, you can go down to club and stay for a couple weeks before Loretta's," and then he got like a 250F built for the Schoolboy 2 class, and then he had Al Allbiker build me a 125 for the Schoolboy 1 class, and so I trained for probably 3 or 4 weeks before Loretta's, and that was it, because I just got out of school. But then once I got down to club, Brandon, who's the owner, he really liked having me there and wanted me to stay, but we couldn't afford it then, so we kind of worked out a deal with him that because we had an RV and we could park my RV there, and he was like, "All right, well, you just pay for your food and your electric for your RV, and you can just work around the facility a couple hours a day, and that'll kind of pay for your training." So that was how. Yep.
Like, what'd you do?
I helped really with whatever. I mean, I helped pour the concrete slab for the clubhouse or their cafeteria, which is
dude, I've been there. That's a decent amount of concrete. That's a lot of concrete.
Yeah, I helped do that. I would really just kind of, because there were Chris Osborne, a guy from North Carolina, and then Brandon's brother Phil, who was like, he would do the track maintenance, and also he would like work or kind of upkeep around the facility. And so when I was done riding, I would just go get in with one of them and do whatever they were doing, and just kind of help them out. And so that was pretty much the whole time I was at club. Like I kind of always was like wanting and needing to like give back, because Brandon had given me such an opportunity to get to stay down there. And that's where I really learned how to wash my clothes in a 5-gallon bucket, and I learned how to cook French toast, and I learned how to own my faith and how to grow in my faith a little bit. And that's kind of where the rubber met the road for me, I guess you could say.
Well, yeah, because I was always wondering that. It was like, oh, you don't understand, this guy has no money and his bikes are all beat up. And I'm like, but how the heck, Club MX, like, how is he dedicated to a riding and training facility without any money? So now it finally makes sense. And I would still imagine this is all people telling you, hey, man, we think you're good, you should do this. But did you even know if you were going to actually be good by doing this?
No, I mean, my parents always told me like that I was a good rider growing up, and
Hmm.
I could win the local races, but I never really, um, I guess, thought much about it. I just loved riding my motorcycle, and
Yeah.
because people have asked me a few times, like, man, is this everything you dreamed of? And I'm like, honestly, it's not. Like I, I, when I was growing up, I just wanted to be a dirt bike rider on TV,
Yeah.
and that was it. Like no specifics, and so um, I did that, and now I'm just going with where the Lord takes me, and that's really um, I'm perfectly content with doing that.
But yeah, so it's not like that year that you spent at club. So that you raced Schoolboy, that Schoolboy 1
Hmm.
and Schoolboy 2 after a little bit of time there.
Yeah.
How did you even do? Was it better than
Um,
previous years? Did it help?
yeah, I got my first two top tens
Okay.
overall at Loretta's. With I think it was a fifth and a ninth
Right.
or something. But it was funny because uh, at the time I was on a Kawasaki 250F,
Hmm.
and Mark wanted, because Zach was on Yamahas at that time.
Uh-huh.
Well, Mark got 1110 mods to build me a Yamaha 250F, and I'd never ridden a Yamaha before, nor had I ever had a mod 250. So I I got to ride the Yamaha one time before I took it to Loretta's and practiced and raced it. So it was a rocket ship. Like it was really fast. I got arm pump on it so bad because I couldn't hardly handle it. Um, but it was really cool getting to ride like a really good bike, because I mean I had bikes growing up, but we never really, I guess, did anything to them to make them faster.
Yeah.
Um, Mainly because I had to race one bike in the stock and the mod classes.
Hmm.
So yeah, it was pretty crazy just going to Loretta's, and then like I got my first two top tens, but even coming into that race versus years before that, it's like I actually felt like I was somewhat ready. It's
Uh-huh.
like, man, I've done more training in the last 4 weeks than I have like the last couple of years. Man, I'm here. Like maybe I can do something. And I actually like led uh the the first Schoolboy 1 moto,
Okay.
but um my shifter got stuck down, and so it wouldn't shift, but I was stuck in fourth gear, like on my 125, and I ended up sixth in the moto. But like I couldn't hardly jump some of the jumps because I couldn't make it
Yes.
go out of the corners.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah,
Oh wow.
yeah.
So that next year, you didn't end up winning either of the titles, but it was like an epic just battle all week. I remember with you and Bishalia and Webb, who were obviously super well established. Were you surprising yourself that week, or were you riding so well with the training leading up to it, where you expected to do like some damage? And I'm sure the people around you were telling you like, "Come on, man, you can do this."
Yeah, I mean it was a good year because that year I'd gotten homeschooled, so I actually got to stay at club
Hmm.
and spend time training. And so coming into that year, it wasn't like I guess uh an oh crap moment,
Yeah.
but it also wasn't like, okay, well, I'm just gonna like destroy these guys.
Yeah.
And I remember when I pulled the whole shot in my first moto, it was one of those like oh crap moments. I'm like, oh no,
It still was.
like what do I do? But then like I just kept telling myself, I was like, just sprint, Shane, just sprint,
Okay.
just sprint. And I remember like it was probably 2 or 3 laps to go, and Cooper was catching me, and I'm just still telling myself, just sprint, Shane, just
Uh
sprint,
huh. Uh huh.
just sprint. And so it was like, dude, I can't believe like I just did. I don't really remember much of that moto, mainly because it was like, holy cow, what's going on right now? And then I kind of like built off that moto off that moto for the rest of the week. And I ended up with 2 seconds that year, but I met TK in the pits through Bo Markoff, and it was like, looking back, every time I tell this story, I say that it was a total God thing, because that leading up to Loretta's, like, we were sold out on Loretta's. Like, this is what we're going for. And at that time, my brother was really kind of getting back into racing and really wanting to kind of pursue it as well. So that he was really wanting to get back into it. Well, like, I was still living under my parents' wing, and they were still kind of providing me with everything. So that kind of caused a problem. Well, and now if your brother wants to race too, it's like we just couldn't afford for both of us to race. Like, that was kind of the bottom line.
Oh, I see.
And so then, like, that week, I met TK, and he came up and met with my parents, and my dad was trying to sell him some oil, and, hey, well, who does your suspension? We got it. It was like, if you know my dad, it makes perfect sense.
What do you mean? Like, he was trying to not just sell you?
He was
to be on
trying to
the team?
sponsor the team, in a sense.
Oh, come on, seriously?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Were you getting worried that it was going to maybe mess up the whole thing?
Not really.
Okay.
I honestly didn't really pay much attention to what Dad was saying, because it was
All
just
right.
like, I was already kind of dreaming, in a sense. Like, man, is this like really happening? And I had like a lot of people come up to me that week, whether it was from like gear companies, and a few manufacturer like managers came up and talked to me, and
Okay.
it was a little weird, because I mean, I've never really talked to anybody, and now it's like these people really start I guess, what, like, not enticing, but like
Well, they're selling you,
yeah,
right? Like, they're selling
sort of,
you.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
And but TK was the most, I guess, straightforward, and he was genuinely like, yeah, man, we would love to. It was he came up and had a meeting about really everything that we had a question about or whatever. And he was like, yeah, we'd love to have you come out and test the bike, and spend some time out there for a couple of days. And so we were like, yeah. And then I didn't hear from him for it was a couple weeks after, but I'm just at home, like, not doing anything now, because I'm not at club. I took some time off, and then just kind of like waiting and waiting. And then they got me a flight and sent me to California for a few days, and that was my first time flying. And Mark Osborne went with me.
Yeah,
And
I heard that. That's so crazy.
yeah,
So yeah, this is Zach's dad again, right?
yeah,
He just
yeah,
just being nice. Like, this is all.
yeah,
He wasn't getting
yeah.
any money out of this, right?
No, he actually gave me some money while we were there,
Oh,
because I ended up staying for might have been like 5 days. I was supposed to be there 3 days. I ended up staying like 5.
yeah.
But Mark left, and he gave me some money. He's like, here, man, just in case you need it, take care of yourself. And um yeah, and because he stayed in the hotel with me, he got the rental car, he took me everywhere, and it was really cool.
Wow. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love telling that story of you. That was the first time flying and everything. Okay, at what point? Okay, first of all, when they didn't call immediately after Loretta's, were you getting worried that everyone was just talking to you and then it wasn't actually going to mean anything? It wasn't actually going to happen. Were you worried about that at all?
Not really.
Mm-hmm.
Because that we had been in. I mean, we were staying in touch with Mark Osborne, and Mark knew TK a little bit too.
Oh,
And
okay.
but they actually, I think Honda asked me or something if I wanted to go and race like Matterley Basin, like the GP that year, which was like 2 weeks after Loretta's. And and it was like, dang, really? But it was like really short notice, and it just Mark kind of shut it down in a sense, just because it was way too quick, and there was just too much going on. So it worked out good the way it did, but I don't know that I even really worried about it too much.
So Osborne's dad, just cool. And by the way, I'm assuming this is when the Osbornes and Zach are still involved with Club MX, so that's what that connection is, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. Because I don't know if people even remember now. Like Zach and Brandon, I guess they were kind of the founders, so to speak.
Yeah.
But now Zach's moved on. But hey, so that's so funny. I didn't realize that you and Zach had this level of connection back in the day, or was it actually more Zach's dad? I mean, Zach was racing in Europe a lot. So did you actually know him really well, or more just the family?
Yeah, I grew up kind of, I guess, racing under Zach.
Okay.
But I mean, we used to race. I was on 50s and like early 60s.
Yeah.
And Zach was on 85s, like kind of racing all the local races, and we would just always watch them. And but they were also really close. Like our homes were pretty close to each other.
Okay.
So I knew who he was from like when I was young, but then honestly, it was probably 65s when I actually met him, and like we would hang out, and like Mark and my dad knew each other pretty well, and
okay.
So it wasn't just the thing with club. Like I knew him quite a bit before.
So do you guys see each other? I mean, you're both riding at Baker's factory, so do you see him now, or are you guys like extra tight because of this, or is it now it's just like your two other guys that ride, or is there something different about your relationship because of all this?
No, it's actually really cool. Like last year when Zach was in the 250 class, like I would even get to ride with him some, and but no, our families are pretty close. Like they've Zach and Brittany, they've had us over to dinner.
Yep.
Joy and I over to dinner with their family a few times, and Joy does Brittany's hair sometimes, and so like we know them away from the track, and so yeah, we're pretty close friends.
Okay, so you actually were back at Loretta's one more year, right, as an amateur with TLD.
Yes,
and it was good, but that was that Plessinger you were battling, or Hampshire? Who was it that year?
Bisceglia and Hampshire.
Hampshire.
Yeah.
Okay, that's right.
Yeah.
I guess Aaron was there, but he actually struggled, I think, a bit.
He was in B class that year. Him and Jordan Smith were in B class.
Oh, that's right. He was 1 year behind, I guess. You were in A when he was in B. So that was his B year breakout. Okay, so that was you against that makes sense, Hampshire. Man, but RJ was on the gas that year, dude.
Yeah. Yep. And because I remember Jace Owen.
Yep.
He was fast.
Yeah,
Luke
he ran
Rensland was
early.
fast.
Yep.
I don't remember.
That's pretty.
Seems like
yeah.
Nick Gaines, I think he was on Cowie that year.
Mm-hmm.
So there were like quite a few pretty fast guys, and we had some mud motos that year, like quite a few. So people were kind of all over the place with that.
As far as the inconsistency.
Yeah. So there were like, I mean, sometimes some of us would be in the back, sometimes everybody would be in the front, and vice versa. So yeah.
And then eventually you have to go to Supercross. Now it's weird. I think of like, someone that was a factory rider later in the game. They probably weren't getting access to Supercross tracks, so it's probably going to happen outdoors more quickly than Supercross. But for you, I feel like it's been the opposite. The Supercross thing, you've always been pretty solid, and I feel it's really just this year where we really started to see the outdoor results come to the same level. So is that just the way it worked out, or do you actually feel more comfortable at Supercross? Is it the way the bike works? What do you think?
Yeah, that kind of goes back with my suspension.
Really?
We kind of got my bike set up good for Supercross, like early, and that was kind of beyond me at the time. Like, we got a good setup and I rode it, and I guess I kind of learned how to ride it maybe.
Okay.
But then when it would come to outdoors, it's like, okay, well, it just needs to be a lot softer. Well, at that time, like, I couldn't tell somebody what was right from wrong, and or what it needs to do and what it doesn't need to do. So this year was really big for me in learning that suspension, because it's really cost us a lot over the years. And it's, from my perspective, it's like, I feel like I've not done a very good job at even just expressing, like, hey, my bike needs to do this, or just speaking up about it. And that's kind of huge for us, just because if we don't say something, I mean, then sometimes they won't even think anything's wrong. So, yeah, it was pretty crazy. Like, when I came out to California and started on Supercross, it was in 2000. It was actually in 2012, because I raced Monster Cup in 2012. Yes.
Yeah, okay. Yep.
So that was my first race with the team. But I never really spent much time on Supercross.
Right.
So, like, learning to ride the track and stuff, I remember having to jump like the triples.
Yeah.
And dude, just the way they were built, I was terrified. I wasn't I was pretty good at the whoops, but like jumping and timing and stuff, like, I was not breathing. I was scared to death, and wasn't about to come up short on anything. So I would just sky everything. And but yeah, I don't know. It just, I guess I kind of, yeah, I'm not really sure. I enjoy riding both, and that's
Right.
like, because I know Cole Seeley has gotten a lot of grief about only being a Supercross rider, but it's like, we really enjoy riding outdoors too, and we want to do good. Like, anytime we race, and it really kind of hurts to hear that, because I'm like, dude, I kind of like motocross more sometimes. And it's like, I don't want to be like that. But it like I said, it's like, I take a lot of the blame for it, because I haven't known, and I haven't really put forth enough effort, or as much as I should have, in trying to get things better sooner.
Yeah, but that's been changed now, because then you go out and win this year in overall, and then you won that moto at Washougal. So now I just feel like it's like, okay, just like he is in Supercross, he's in the mix on any given weekend. I mean, that had to be crazy, though, now that I think about that. We knew that Muddy Creek is like your local track, but I didn't know it was like you've literally were racing there every weekend they had a race. Like, that had to be unbelievable to win your first national there.
Yeah, and that's what was really cool too, is every weekend leading up to that was not good at all. It's like, dude, I believe that I can race these guys and be competitive, and I believe that I could beat them. But like, I'm struggling with a lot of the obstacles, a lot of the parts of the track. Like, I'm having to use way too much energy. And so then it's like, okay, well, then we started making like bike changes, and really kind of starting to make progress. And then it's like, okay, well, I actually lined up somewhat excited at Muddy Creek, because, okay, well, my bike's pretty good now. And so it was pretty crazy. Like, I first moto, like, I started up front, and I was just like, I don't care what happens, I'm not getting past. Like, I don't care to pass the two people in front of me, which was Jeremy Martin and Justin Cooper. Like, I was like, I don't care if I pass them or not. Like, that's not I just want to get a decent result and build off that. So I was like, I'm not going to get past here. And I actually felt pretty good. Like, I felt good in the race and all the way through. And Then came the second moto, and it's like, all right, because Muddy Creek was where my first podium was,
Right.
and 2 years prior.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, like I want to get on the podium today, and didn't get a very good start, and then I actually fell on the first lap, or no, not the first lap, like the third or fourth lap. I just tipped over, but I lost a couple positions, and I was like, no. And but then I felt good on the track all day, and I didn't really feel like I was the fastest at all. But it was pretty hot, and my mechanic just told me to keep pushing, and said my times were like good, and so I just kind of just kept going off of what he said and try to just keep pushing, because I was kind of mad at myself, and just like I let this one get away. And then like towards the end of the moto, I didn't know what place I was in.
Yeah.
But my mechanic just told me like, need this person, and I called him and I passed him, and I'm just almost like kind of blanked out on everything else, just trying to make progress, because again, I didn't know where I was. So then like he had on I don't know if he put like need so and so for the overall or not. I don't remember. But then after I passed like somebody, then he was saying like, you're good or something, but there were still people in front of me. And so I'm like, okay, well, I don't really know what that means. But then TK was like on another part of the track, just cheering me on and stuff, and saying like, good job. Like, and but then like towards the end, that's when I kind of started to realize like, oh, I think I might be about to like get the overall, because on the first lap, Jeremy Martin and Justin Cooper, they crashed right in front of me. Like I almost, I actually split them when they landed and split different ways.
Oh wow!
So then I don't remember who got fourth. I didn't know where anybody else was, and I didn't know what place I was in. So that's why I kind of had no idea, other than actually. So I didn't know that was Justin Cooper at first, until we lapped him, and he was kind of just cruising on the side of the track, and I realized it was him. And so then I'm like, oh well, okay, so he's out, and I know that was Jeremy, and so it kind of started to come together. But yeah, it was crazy to have done that there, and just for all the weekends we had leading up to that were really subpar and pretty much embarrassing, just with how I was riding. And so yeah, it was pretty big.
Right. And dude, you don't need to expand on it, but the year before, I remember we talking to you the year before. So that would have been 17, the beginning of the Nationals. And you were like, you're like, during the week I'm riding as hard as I can, and I'm like 2 seconds off. I don't even understand.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. Well, it was kind of similar this year.
Yeah.
Again. Yeah.
Yeah. But then it just turned around. Okay, so now we can no longer brand you as he's better at Supercross than outdoors. Now you've won outdoors, and you've never felt like you were more comfortable or preferred one or the other. So maybe you got that monkey off your back now. Maybe you're just all rounder.
I hope so.
Okay, so to catch back up to where we are now, look, man, you should be one of the favorites to win whatever coast you're going to race on. You probably should have been the last couple of years, but you never get that level of hype because I don't know if it's because of the way you carry yourself. You're a humble guy, maybe because of the humble beginnings. But I feel like we almost need to remind ourselves and other people sometimes, like, look, here's the results. I think you've won 5 Supercross races. Like, he wins as much as anybody else. He's just as good as anyone else, but I don't know. You never quite get the love like that. And maybe it's just because of where you started and you didn't have the factory ride forever like a lot of these other guys. It's bizarre how you're almost always operating under the radar, I feel.
Yeah, and from my perspective, like, I kind of enjoy that.
Oh, okay.
Mainly because I really, like, I hate kind of talking about racing and stuff away from the track. Like, especially, like, if I hanging out with friends or something, it's like, but then, like, if I meet somebody, it's like, hey, I like to talk to people, but it's like I hate kind of talking about my racing or I just get nervous. Like even if other people are like kind of building me up, and it's just kind of weird for me. I don't like to be the center of attention, I guess.
I see.
So it's a lot of people have kind of brought that up lately. Like, dude, you're so under the radar, and I never really thought much about it.
Yeah.
Until people started like really talking about it. But I'm like, dude, I actually kind of enjoy it. Like I just, when I go home from the track, like I don't like to think about riding. I don't like to think about motorcycles. Like I just want to kind of get away a little bit. And so yeah, I have noticed that, and people have brought that up, and I don't really have an answer for it other than like I'm kind of glad it's that way.
Well, that's the best answer you can have, because the other thing, you could be angry and be like, why don't I get the respect, or why don't I get the attention? But if you're
Yeah.
cool with it, then I guess it doesn't even matter so much. I mean, I think some guys that motivates them.
Yeah.
Like, why are these guys getting the attention? But I mean, just the West this year that you just went through is stacked when you look at Savacci and AC and AP and yourself. And honestly, your credentials are just as good as them. But I think everybody just considered them, well, they're bigger names or they've won more, until you actually look at the stats and you won as much as they have. But that doesn't bother you, so that's okay.
Yeah. No, I mean, I want to continue to grow and continue to get better. And I mean, I don't know that I'll ever be the best, but I mean, if that's the case, then there's always something for me to strive for. So for me, that's really something I look forward to, is just getting better every year, and just kind of seeing what we can do. That's kind of the fun part about it.
Okay, the last topic here to bring this all the way around is, so if you're actually at the level of these other guys, and you actually are, eventually they start talking about the 450 prospects of riders at that level. And it was so weird. I had a conversation with Jeremy Malott from Red Bull at the beginning of last season. And there's all this talk about, like, where could Plessinger go? Where might Cooper Webb go? Will he stay at Yamaha? Will he move? You know, where's Cianciarulo going to go when he graduates? Where's Savacci going to go when he graduates? All that. And he's like, does anyone talk about where this guy is going in the future? And I'm like, yeah, wait. McElrath is riding as well as them, but no one ever thinks of this guy could be a future 450 race winner or a 450 rider or title contender. Do you even think that far down the road to think where you might be in a few years in the big class? Because honestly, you battled Plessinger all year. Everybody's got super expectations for him in a 450. So why not you?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, from a rider's perspective, like it's cool to win in the 250 class, and it's cool to race all these guys and be competitive. But like ultimately in motocross, the 450 class is the main goal.
Right.
And beyond that is to win the 450 class.
Yeah.
So it's, I mean, it's not been something I've thought about a lot, I guess, prior to the last, say, 2.5 years.
Yeah.
Because now it's kind of becoming real to me, and it's kind of, I guess, sneaking up. But it's got to be the reality of it, and it's got to be kind of the goal is, okay, well, am I just going to do enough right now in the 250 class to get by, and maybe I'll get a ride on a good team, and then I can work on some things and try and get better. It's like, for me, that's just not how I am. Like I love to learn, and I love to be challenged. And just last night, like we kicked off our boot camp Bible study, which is something we do right now during boot camp, like for training. And I mean, it's a commitment, and it's a challenge, and it's something that we all can do to hold each other accountable. And just like we do out at the farm, I mean, we're out there pushing each other and challenging each other to be better. And then we do the Bible study thing to as a boot camp for our faith. And that's how I am. Like, I feel like there's always something to be learned, and there's always somebody better than me. And so I don't necessarily think that I'm the best. I have a lot more to learn. I can go a lot faster, and I can be a lot more fit. I still have a long way to go before I guess there's really an end. But just because I've won a few Supercrosses doesn't mean that I'm the best. Like, I can't go into the 450 class thinking that, and then I'm going to get smoked. So the 450 class is the goal, but I still feel like there's some things to learn and to build off of to go into the 450 class to then learn some more and grow some more.
All right, but there was one random interview I remember you had on the podium, one of the Supercrosses, like 2 years ago, like 17, where you even mentioned like the goal is to eventually, be where Ryan Dungey is, and I was like, wow, never even thought about that. So
yeah,
it apparently does cross your mind every once in a while.
yeah. I mean, it kind of has to. Like, if we're not always pushing ourselves, then I mean, we may win a championship one year, and then it's like, oh yeah, we're the best, and we don't have, like, we're good doing what we're doing. Well, just wait, because the next year somebody's really going to step it up, and then I'm going to get smoked. So that's something that I don't want to do. There's always going to be somebody better, and so that's what I work towards.
All right, yeah, you're staying close to your humble beginnings at this game. It was what it sounds like. You're staying very grounded.
I try.
Yeah,
I try. It's not always easy.
No. I mean, when you're at the top, you're a title contender or whatever. It's hard. There's probably people coming at you from all angles that aren't seeing it that way anymore. So
yeah.
All right. Well, this has been great. I don't know. The boot camp is on now too, and the testing. Geez, sorry.
Yeah.
You're way busier than I thought, dude.
Yeah.
Against it.
Well, actually, we kicked off boot camp with 3 days straight of testing. So it was a nice kick in the rear. Yeah.
Yeah. You've done obviously a lot of testing before, but were these days much, or was it just because it was the 3 days in a row, or were these longer days than almost ever before?
Well, a little bit of both.
Really? Okay.
Like I said, we don't normally ride 3 days in a row, but the Austrians and even all the KTM guys from California, they had 3 days here, and that was it.
Yeah.
So it was like, all right, well, we gotta get this stuff done while everybody's here, because there may not be another opportunity. So,
all right.
So yeah,
gotta strike while the iron's hot. Cool.
Yep.
All right, get back to is resting the number one key at this time of day?
Mainly, yeah. I was actually doing some painting.
Oh, nice.
On a little shoe shelf that's going to be going in our closet. So, yeah.
That's awesome. I respect the multitasking. You can't waste an hour, bro. Got to use it.
No, it's all good.
Darn right it is. Life is good. If you're Shane McElrath, you're a factory rider. The Austrians are coming over to help you test and get better. Hoping to win races and maybe titles in 2019. It's amazing how far this guy has come. And I always point to riders like McElrath or, of course, Justin Brayton. I always point to Justin Brayton for a variety of reasons. But Cole Seeley, who was not very heralded early in his career as well. All these riders, they are the true inspiration, I believe. If there's someone in the ranks that's just pulling top 10s in mini cycles or moving into the B class and they don't think they're going to make it, there is proof that it can still happen. You do not have to be one of the chosen ones. As Jeremy Martin said just a few weeks ago in this podcast, I was never one of the chosen ones. But look at how far he's come. So it's always inspirational to hear riders like that. And it's interesting to hear how Shane has to wrestle with it. He needs to keep his feet on the ground and stay humble and keep working. He cannot lose sight of that. But at the same time, he also needs to realize he's arrived so he can go to the starting gate and feel like, hey, I'm the best man on this gate. I can win races. Because it sounds like, as much as the folks on the outside forget that McElrath is a contender, it sounds like he sometimes forgets he is as well. We'll see if he can prove everyone wrong or right come Anaheim in January. It's coming. Only about a month away. It's coming. It's coming. Also coming in the new exhaust systems for KTM motorcycles and Husqvarnas as well. They share exhaust systems. Who knew? 250s, 350s, and 450s have been redesigned by the brand for 2019, and Yoshimura has awesome new exhaust systems for those bikes. So check it out at yoshimura-rd.com. 63.75 years of research and development. And also go to racerxbrand.com. You could get 25% off typing in the code CYBER25, maybe. But I'd prefer you type in exhaust in all capital letters. And I absolutely implore you, do not type in Pulp Amex or Pulp. I'm not sure what the code is. Oh, there is no code. There is no code. Nope. That's it for the Exhaust Podcast by Yoshimura this week. We'll be back next week. I'm Jason Wygant. Thanks for listening.